Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. This is incredible. Drone attack wipes Russian weapons depot off the face of the earth. Okay. Ukraine's drone raid on a giant Russian ammo dump, the most destructive event of the war so far. Russian state-controlled media has been saying very little about the massive attack, but satellite images of the aftermath tell a story of sheer devastation. There are lots of pictures and videos online of the initial explosion and the fires. I'll link down below 5 or 6 clips, but this one's probably the best. Shortly after the initial explosion, a Russian in the distance who's miles away took out his phone and took this video, and you can see the shockwave. Look how big this fireball is, this initial explosion, and then there's a shockwave that radiates out in every direction. The shockwave was so massive that windows miles away in Russian apartment buildings were blown out. Wow. Here's a video from the next morning. This happened 2 days ago, so we're going on almost the 3rd day from the attack, and the fires are still going. This is miles away. Russia's government can't really hide this. Everyone in the region is seeing what's happening. You can see the smoke from space. The fire is so massive. As always, I'll link these videos down below. And this was Russia's Toropets munition depot, and it's estimated that about 20 billion rubles worth of ammunition, over 200 million equivalent dollars, was lost. At least 10 people have been reported killed in the event, and as of the time of filming this video, the secondary explosions and the fires are still going. 17 earthquakes shake Russia's Tver Oblast. The explosion was so massive, it registered on seismic monitors. People around the world measuring earthquakes could see the blast. Now, it was only a 2.7 earthquake. You're probably not going to feel that standing in the area. But yeah, you can pick this up on seismic monitors. So Ukraine basically hit the jackpots. What kind of munition types were being stored in this warehouse? And it was Iskander ballistic missiles, North Korean KN-23 ballistic missiles, S-300, S-400 air defense missiles, and then Grad MLRS rockets. This is a big deal. Ukraine's Tver ammo depot attack, featuring jet drones, lowers the Russian threat to the Baltics. Despite being 2.5 years into this war, Russia was still storing ammunition close to NATO's border, close to the Baltics, in the event they wanted to potentially launch an attack. So the theory is that Ukraine did this with their new jet drone. Here's a picture of what it looks like. And staring at this picture, I noticed there's snow on the ground, and this Ukrainian man has a winter jacket. So obviously this photograph was taken maybe 8 or 9 months ago, and that's how long Ukraine has been in development. Really, they've been in development the entirety of the war, but 2.5 years into this special military operation, we've just leveled up. This is a new capability for Ukraine. Long-range jet drones, hard to shoot down, hard to intercept, with probably a decent payload. I hope Ukraine can mass produce these things and then light up some more ammunition depots all around Russia. So this ammunition depot is kind of famous. It was built in Soviet times. It was modernized in 2015, and then they had like a new ribbon cutting ceremony and inauguration in 2019. But it's estimated that corruption and incompetence contributed to the devastation at this ammunition depot. There was an estimate of about 30,000 tons of military goods being stored there, and it's pretty bad. So let me show you exactly where this is in the map. This is the town of Toropets. Toropets is in the Tver Oblast of Russia, and this is pretty close to the Baltics, Estonia and Latvia. This is munitions that could be in Ukraine or closer to Ukraine, and Russia assumed that it would be safe here from their drones. So this is the ammunition depot, and this is the town. Look how large, look how massive this ammunition depot is. We can zoom in and have better satellite images provided by Maxar. This is probably about a month ago, and then this is yesterday. We can't see with satellites exactly how bad the damage is because the fires are still going. There's smoke obscuring the satellite images. Once again, this is the highest resolution from about a month ago, and then this is what it looked like yesterday. So what we're seeing, let me show you these bunkers, these white buildings. This is what it looks like on the ground. These are hardened structures to protect the ammunition in long-term storage. But it's Russia, it's the Russians, and a lot of this ammunition was just being stored out in the open. This satellite image is from May 9th of this year, and you can see the Russians cutting corners, not wanting to load stuff into the buildings and then out of the buildings. So a lot of it is just open in the air, and that's what's burning and causing secondary explosions right now. Here's some satellite images as of this morning. The ones before were from yesterday. So this is the before. This is the after. We've got, let's see here, the before, the after, and we'll do the last one here. It's going to take a couple days to do some kind of tally and an estimate for any Russian forces in the area. I have no idea how you begin some kind of cleanup efforts. This is the before, and this is the after. All of these buildings have exploded and they're gone now. So this clip might be my favorites of this event, and it's the governor of the Tver region issuing an official statement while there's still explosions happening in the background. You can hear the pop, pop, pop as he's saying that work is proceeding according to plan, everything is under control.
Сегодня в результате прилета беспилотных летательных аппаратов на территории Российской Федерации отработала система ПВО Министерства обороны. Беспилотные летательные аппараты были сбиты. При падении произошел пожар. Сейчас занимаемся эвакуацией нашего населения, жителей, которые находятся, поддержанием общественного порядка. Все трудятся на территории Торопца.
Pop, pop, pop. So the Russians are claiming they successfully shot down the drone, but the drone debris fell on the ammunition depot, causing these explosions. That's utter nonsense. They did not successfully shoot this thing down. This jet drone hit its target. And to top it off, just to troll the Russians, the official Toropets administration website was hacked, and somebody put a picture of Budanov on their city website. That's pretty good. Let's talk about the front lines, especially in Kursk. Ukraine halts the Russian counteroffensive in the Kursk Oblast. And it's pretty easy to see what the Russians are trying to do here. If we just go back in time, potentially a week, we can see that Ukrainian forces made it to this river, meaning that the Glushkovo district was cut off. So the Russians quickly reinforced Koronevo, and they're pushing down south alongside the river in order to reestablish a land bridge with the Glushkovo district. So if we go forward in time, 7 days, you can see that Russia has retaken this ground territory in order to link up with their forces in Glushkovo. The Ukrainians are trying to counter the attack by crossing the border. They have taken this village of Vezelo, and there's intense fighting. I want to see Ukraine take Glushkovo. I want to see Ukraine take Koronevo. But it's about resources. What kind of resources can Ukraine be provided in order to reinforce and hold this territory? This is such a propaganda defeat for Ukraine to be invading Russia that, yeah, it took 6 weeks, but the Russians have woken up. They've reinforced the area, and they are taking it serious. Their intention, I do think aggressively in the next month or two, is just to bomb and destroy everything, to force the Ukrainians to retreat back to their side of the border. And here's a video I want to share with you. It's estimated that in the occupied territories about 10,000 Russian civilians remain. They chose not to flee. And they've mostly been peaceful and cooperating with the administrative authority of Ukraine, trying to make sure that these Russian civilians have food, water, and medical care. But it's now been several points on Russian state TV that they're calling for the open bombing of their own cities and settlements. So Ukrainian forces are trying to warn these Russian civilians that Russian aerial glide bombs are going to be falling on their homes soon. Russian artillery is going to be raining down on their homes soon. And there's always the risk that these Russian civilians will believe this is Ukrainian propaganda. So Ukrainians are showing them the clips from Russian state TV saying that the Russian military is about to destroy their cities. Obviously, these Russian civilians are not too happy.
А вам би було інтересно подивитися, що зараз по русским новостям вообще показують? Те, що ваші зараз хочуть робити, щоб ви знали.
Это какой канал?
Считаю, что нам необходимо вот после того, что
Первую, последнюю неделю вот в Курской области сделать такую вот.
So, of course, these Russians know these commentators, they know these broadcast shows, so there's no way that Ukraine could manipulate or fake these clips, but they want to make sure these people see them.
Возмездие. Вот надо их окружить и уничтожить все. Просто ковровым, понимаете? Недаром. Кстати, я надеюсь, что к этому и готовится, потому что недаром столько эвакуации.
Не будем.
Иначе чего эвакуировать столько тысяч людей?
Да, я тоже с вами согласен. Нет, это мое желание. Пока я не вижу.
Говорильно, короче, как обычно.
Если враг обосновался в захваченных селах, деревнях, населенных пунктах, в лесной полосе, то для того, чтобы его оттуда выбить, надо уничтожать все, что там находится. Так же, как это происходит на передовой линии фронта.
Ну да.
То есть уничтожать свои села, свои деревни, свои леса.
Это вообще ужас.
Я все одна.
Михаил слишком как-то легковесно сказал, что вот можем развернуться, идти в наступление, освобождать Курскую землю. Они уже успели оборудовать опорные пункты. Доты, дзоты, там долговременные точки. Они уже не стесняются, прилюдно привозят плиты бетонные, уважаемые. Зеленский запросил, не забывайте, 27 экскаваторов, они все там пашут. Так вот, скажите, пожалуйста. А я бы решил эту проблему по-ходоренковски, если он говорит, что легко. Я бы обратился к авиаторам, говорю, ну подгоните мне, пожалуйста, 3 ФАБа 5-тонника. Чего буду мучиться с этим селом?
Помогать никто, вы только помогаете и продуктам, и всем. Они только языком мелют, уничтожать все. Все равно вылезет.
So this is Russian civilians being able to see with their own eyes 4 or 5 commentators on various podcasts and Russian TV shows saying they're going to destroy everything. They're going to destroy these people's homes and their lives. So Ukraine has a plan. Ukraine's victory plan is now fully ready. President Zelensky is coming to the United States this week. He's going to meet with President Biden. The reports are he's going to meet with former President Trump, so I think he's probably also going to meet with Vice President Kamala Harris. And they're going to talk about Ukraine's victory plan. And I think diplomats and the State Department have already seen what the plan is prior to it being presented to President Biden. And the United States believes Zelensky's peace strategy can work. So what's in the peace strategy? It's classified. I don't think they're going to release it to the public. But none of Ukraine's plans to end the war include a ceasefire or ceding territory. The reports are unofficially that Ukraine's proposed peace plan involves taking back Crimea. All Ukrainian territory must be returned to Ukraine, and the United States is supporting this plan. They're going to endorse it. So I want to share a clip talking about basically the tricks, the manipulation that the Russians have played on the West the last 2.5 years. This clip is from a professor of history at Yale, Timothy Schneider. He's also a best-selling author. His latest book, On Freedom, was just released 2 days ago. I had it pre-ordered on Amazon, so I'm probably going to read it over the next couple weeks. And Timothy Schneider frequently gives testimony before Congress. He's kind of an expert or an authority on World War II history, and he's been talking about all the parallels between the rise of Nazi Germany and what's happening with Putin and Russia's fascist government today. So this is a very important clip, and I think people should listen to it in its entirety.
Part of being an empire is controlling the discourse. And to a large degree, the Russians have been able to control the strategic discourse, setting up for us new rules in war, which have never existed before. Like, for example, that when you invade another country, the entire war should take place on the territory of the country you've invaded. No one has ever said that before because it's completely absurd. And yet somehow it's been accepted in the United States as normal that this war should be fought on Ukrainian territory. There is no precedence for that kind of idea. Another idea that the Russians have that we've accepted is that it's normal, for example, when you and I were in Kiev, for ballistic missiles to rain down on the city where we were trying to do normal business, but it's somehow not normal for ballistic missiles from Ukraine to go into Russia. Why is that? Why is it normal for one country and not for another? It has a great deal to do with imperial thinking, which we have accepted. There's something precious, special, etc. about Russia, and somehow it's okay for Ukrainians to be victims because they always have been victims. We need to investigate, I think, that understructure of thinking, which I believe has guided our policy in the wrong way. So as far as empires are concerned, I'll return to what I said at the end, trying to respond now to your question about a victory plan. I believe the Ukrainians are right about something that they're hard pressed to convince us of, and I think what I'm saying now is consistent with the history of empire. The Russians are going to negotiate peace when they believe they are losing. And so if anyone is serious about negotiation, that person should be trying to get the Russians into a position where they think they might be losing. The Ukrainians get that, but they're having a really hard time making us understand that pairing. So when they talk about a victory plan or a peace plan, what they mean is together the West and Ukraine do enough to get Russia to a point where it might negotiate sincerely. They're not there now.
Outstanding.
So if you want peace talks, if you want this war to end, then Russia has to believe that they're losing, or they can lose. We don't need Russia to lose. We don't need the collapse of Russia. We just need Putin and his inner circle to believe that they're losing and it's possible. How can we achieve this? We have to be giving more military aid to Ukraine. We have to be giving them more support. The amount, the current levels, simply isn't enough. And Russia still thinks they're winning. 2.5 years into this 3-day special military operation, Putin still thinks he's going to win, and he's going to take all the territory he hopes to take. Try and get a ceasefire so that he can rearm, and then 4 or 5 years come back for more Ukraine. Or he'll just attack the Baltics next. Putin still believes things are going well for him. And nothing's going to change until we support Ukraine more to the point where Russia will want to sincerely negotiate some kind of end to the conflict. So let's get to the bad news for Russia. Ukraine destroys a Russian ammunition depot, another one, this time near Mariupol. I don't have any videos, but these are the pictures that the Russians released on the ground. Pretty nasty. Russian father of 29 signs a military contract to go fight in Ukraine. A 57-year-old father of 29 biological and adopted children chose to sign a contract to go fight in Ukraine and die. Well, at least he can't father any more of these children. Jesus, that's a big family. 2 killed, several injured after a shooting outside a Wildberries office in Moscow. There are some crazy videos online. I'll link them down below. And I don't really understand. Wildberries is Russia's equivalent of Amazon. And I guess the head of the marketplace, Tatiana Baklichuk, said her husband and his personal security guards were trying to raid the company's offices. So the private security of a billionaire tried to attack the office where his wife was in the building, and then the building security got into a shootout with the private security, and people died. This is how the Russians do business. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. Kharkiv printing house destroyed by Russian shelling resumes work. This printing house was destroyed by the Russians back in May, and the Buffett Foundation announced that they would pay entirely to restore this printing house in Kharkiv. So the construction, you can see, is making progress, but they've already resumed what capacity they can to start printing books again in the Ukrainian language. Germany pledges over $110 million for winter aid for Ukraine. Thank you so much to the people of Germany. Germany also pledged an additional 50 million euros for the treatment of wounded Ukrainian soldiers. Once again, thank you so much to the German people. Switzerland to provide 68 million for digitalization in Ukraine. Thank you so much to the people of Switzerland. Final clip I have for you. It's currently fall. It's back to the school season for universities such as Kharkiv University. It's not safe for their students to return. For students resuming classes, they all have to be entirely online because the Russians routinely bomb this university. So this is Ukrainian journalist Maria Avdiva at Kharkiv University with this report I want to share.
Hello from Kharkiv Karazin National University. It's the home university for 3 Nobel laureates, the only one in Ukraine, and it stands now empty, completely empty, because all the classes are taught only online. Imagine the biggest Kharkiv University is totally empty, and it has a breathtaking view on Kharkiv city center. And it's worth mentioning that all those windows here were blown out in the recent Russian strike, and they are newly installed thanks to the generous German help. And I do hope, with the help of all our partners, Ukraine will be able to win, Ukraine will be allowed to strike back, and students will return here. The normal life will return to this university, to Kharkiv, and it again will be a thriving city full of youth and full of life, the city it used to be before Russia invaded. Slava Ukraini!
That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.